Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ambassador Greer, thank you for being here. Back in the 90s, I was in management consulting, and there was a new platform that came out that promised to transform the business industry, ERP. Some of the early attempts at implementing the system proposed an a la Prima approach. Let's do it all at once. Let's change the plumbing out. Let's get it all in, get it done, rip the Band-Aid off. It proved to be hugely unsuccessful. There were a lot of very visible projects, and the industry decided there needed to be a methodical sort of prioritization of what parts of the business needed to perform better sooner, and how do you layer onto that a comprehensive strategy. It looks like we've got a novel approach here in terms of an a la Prima approach. I'm not a trade expert, and I'm not going to question it at this point. I do have a question about, at the end of the day, the other thing in management consulting we like to focus on is this concept of one throat to choke. In other words, when you're finally taking a look at a strategy, someone has to own it, and you can't say that it's the president or the vice president. So my first question to you, in this scenario, the decision maker who decided the a la Prima approach, who has obviously had to have spent time anticipating what we saw in the markets and some of the pushback, I'm assuming this all got gamed out, because it's a novel approach, it needed to be thought out. Whose throat do I get to choke if this proves to be wrong?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to America First, the channel where we stand up for our country, our values, and the hard-working Americans that make this nation great. If you're new here, don't forget to smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss out on the real talk about what's going on in our country. And to all of you who've been with us since day one, thank you for keeping the America First movement alive. Let's dive into today's topic, and trust me, you don't want to miss this. So folks, today I came across a fascinating exchange that really highlights some of the problems with the way our current government leaders are operating. This discussion was about a bold, or as some might say, reckless trade strategy, what they're calling the all Prima approach. Now, I don't know about you, but when I hear phrases like all Prima, I immediately think, oh, here come the elites in Washington with another half-baked plan that's going to hurt everyday Americans while they sit in their ivory towers. Let's break this down.
Well, Senator, you can certainly always talk to me, but
are you at the tip of the spear?
Well, I'm at the tip of the spear, for certainly.
Did you propose the a la Prima approach?
So, first of all, I would push back, Senator, just a little bit on this. For now, we've excluded pharmaceuticals and semiconductors to take a different kind of approach.
So let's make it
and we've excluded
question.
USMCA.
Section 232 and 301, we know particularly Section 232 is still on aluminum. Section 301 is Chinese imports, where there's no other provider. I overheard you say that maybe, or I thought I heard you say in response to another question, that for the near term there won't be any exclusions. Is that true of China, where they have said the U.S. is unilaterally bullying and completely groundless and they're going to fight to the end? Are the 232 and 301 tariffs exclusions on the shelves until we get to a reasonable agreement with China? I'm just trying to answer a question that I have several people in North Carolina asking.
So the president, again, is the final decision maker on all of these things, and he has directed that there not be exclusions or
There
exemptions.
will not be any exclusions on steel, aluminum, or any products that are only manufactured in China for the foreseeable future until China determines what the end is, because they said they're going to fight to the end. Again, I'm just trying to communicate questions that I've asked, so there will be no exclusions. Yes. I won't waste your time asking for them. That's the main reason I wanted to ask the question. So again, I'm just trying to get my head around the logic of an a la Prima approach, and I'm waiting to be, I'm waiting to see it be successful. But it just seems like we've decided to begin a trade war on all fronts, and that's okay if the person who thought this through has an answer for why you go after partners that we have a very long storied relationship with. Maybe we give some developing countries a break because we're trying to actually get their economies functioning, make them look to the West versus to Chinese investment. So it just seems like, I'm getting my head around the a la Prima approach. I'm not condemning it because I'm not a trade expert, but I still, at some point, and I understand that you are the trade rep, so if you own this decision, then I'll look to you to figure out if we're going to be successful. If you don't own the decision, I'm just trying to figure out whose throat I get to choke if it's wrong, and who I put up on a platform and thank them for the novel approach that was successful if they're right. But here's what I'm really worried. I'm not going to ask any more questions. I'm just going to tell you, every time we talk about people having patience, we need to understand that the founding fathers made damn sure that that patience was never more than about 14 months, really. Everything that we need to do to know what the political environment is going to be about next year, it's going to be done by February of next year. So in your mind, do you believe that over the course of the next 14 months, we're going to have a level of certainty, and the people in the trailer park that I grew up in who are going to bear the brunt of some of these short-term cost increases, maybe some job displacement for a period of time, how are they going to be feeling Groundhog Day 2027 or 2026? Do we feel like the majority of this will be resolved and I'll be able to thank whoever thought that the Prima approach was a good idea? Because that's about the timeline we've got to work with.
Well, Senator, these people who voted for the president, is the same situation I grew up in, you know that.
I agree, but let me just finish here because I don't want to get in the way of my colleagues. Yes. I'll be 65 in August. Every day, 11,400 people celebrate their 65th birthday. That's 4 million a year. So there, let's say from 60 to 65, people looking at their 401k statements, they did vote for President Trump. They voted for me. I hope that they will again in both cases. Well, maybe not the president, but I intend to run for re-election. I'm just trying to figure out if they're going to feel good about this, because a long-term play in American politics and a long-term play in American policy, public policy formation, is about 12 months from the beginning of an administration. I wish you well, but I am skeptical. Thank you.
First off, I have to give credit where credit is due. The senator in this video asked the question that so many of us are thinking: whose throat do I get to choke if this proves to be wrong? Now, I know that might sound a little dramatic to some people, but let's be honest here. Folks, accountability is key in government. When leaders make decisions that impact millions of lives, someone needs to own that responsibility. And let me tell you, we're not seeing a lot of that these days. Instead, it's just more finger-pointing, more excuses, and more politicians dodging the consequences of their actions. This senator is demanding answers, and I respect that. Because when you're rolling out a trade strategy that affects American jobs, prices, and our economy, you better believe we, the people, deserve to know who's responsible for that plan. Now, let's talk about this so-called all-Prima approach. If you're not familiar with it, it's basically a rip-the-Band-Aid-off strategy, implementing everything all at once without easing into it. And let me tell you something, folks, that sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. The senator even compared it to failed ERP systems in the business world, where companies try to overhaul everything at once and ended up creating chaos. Sound familiar? It's the same kind of overreach we see in Washington all the time. These bureaucrats think they're smarter than the rest of us, and they don't bother to think about the real-world consequences. The ambassador in this discussion tried to push back, saying the plan excluded certain industries like pharmaceuticals and semiconductors. But here's my question: why are we even going down this road of exclusions and exemptions in the first place? Why is our trade policy being made up on the fly instead of being carefully planned out with American workers in mind? And let's not forget the tariffs on Chinese products under Sections 232 and 301. Now I'm all for holding China accountable. We know they've been taking advantage of us for decades. But this approach sounds chaotic, and frankly, it feels like it's going to hurt American consumers more than it hurts Beijing. The ambassador admitted there are no plans for exclusions in the near future, which means we're just going to keep piling on costs for our own people. Is that really putting America first? And here's another thing the senator brought up that we need to talk about. Why are we picking fights with everyone at once? We're talking about alienating allies, countries we've had strong relationships with for years, while also trying to stand up to China. Folks, that's not strategy, that's suicide. You don't win a war, trade or otherwise, by fighting on every single front at the same time. You need to prioritize, focus on your biggest threats, and work with your allies to tackle them together. But instead, this administration seems to think we can go it alone. That's not leadership, that's arrogance. And let's not forget the people who are going to bear the brunt of all this. The senator brought up a great point. It's the working-class Americans, the people in trailer parks and small towns, who are going to feel the pain of rising prices and job losses. These are the same people who voted for President Trump because he promised to put them first. And now, we're being told to just wait out and trust the process. No, folks, that's not good enough. These families can't afford to wait while Washington experiments with their livelihoods. Here's the real kicker, though. The senator pointed out that in politics, you don't have unlimited time to figure things out. The American people expect results, and they expect them fast. We're not a patient nation, and frankly, we shouldn't have to be. This idea that we're going to gamble on a long-term strategy and hope it works out in 14 or 15 months. That's ridiculous. By then, the damage will already be done. Families can't wait that long for relief. Businesses can't wait that long. And let me tell you, the voters sure won't wait that long. If this plan fails, it's going to be a political disaster for everyone involved. So, what's the takeaway here? It's simple. We need accountability, we need a clear plan, and we need leaders who actually understand what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. This all Prima nonsense feels like yet another example of Washington elites playing games with the lives of ordinary Americans. And if they're wrong, guess what? They'll just move on to the next fancy plan, while the rest of us are left to clean up the mess. That's not putting America first, that's putting America last. Now, I want to hear from you, the real patriots of this country. Do you think this trade strategy makes sense? Or do you think it's another case of government overreach that's going to hurt hardworking Americans? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, folks, we're all in this together. We need to hold our leaders accountable and make sure they know we're watching. If they're going to gamble with our future, we're going to make damn sure they answer for it. Thanks for tuning in to America First. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and family. Let's keep this conversation going and make sure our voices are heard. Together, we can fight for a stronger, freer, and more prosperous America. Until next time, stay strong, stay patriotic, and as always, America first.